guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So today we are talking about Girl Defined. Now, I hadn't really thought about Girl Defined since, I want to say 2020. I can't really remember. I think I just removed it all from my memory just because there was a time on YouTube, and if you were here, I'm so sorry. Girl Defined was super talked about, which made sense. I was one of the people who talked about it as well, but there was just a lot going on with that channel. Now, I'm gonna link my prior video down below just for context. Girl Defined is a Christian channel run by two women, Bethany and Brittany. I'm blanking on the names right now. A lot of what was on this channel, last I checked, was dating advice for Christian women, love advice for Christian women, how to be a good Christian woman, basically was what was going on there. Now, being raised as a Christian woman, which is now funny to say out loud, I'm no longer Christian, but I was very familiar with a lot of the ideologies they were presenting. I didn't agree and still don't agree with a lot of those ideologies because I feel like a lot of those ideologies, in the way that they're presenting them, and this is not to say that if you're Christian, you're wrong. It's not okay. I'm just saying I don't align with their interpretation of how to be a good Christian woman. I think there are more modern takes, and I align with those more modern takes rather than very old school ones. That's just me though. Like I said, everyone does whatever the hell they want, none of my business. But I was obviously not the target audience, and let's just be real about that. Much to my shock, I come across a tweet and I find out that one of the two sisters from Girl Defined, Bethany Beal, is selling sex courses. Let me be very clear. There is nothing wrong with selling sex courses. There's nothing wrong with OnlyFans. Whatever you want to sell that's legal, truly. If it's not for me, it's not for me. It's for someone else. Whatever. The reason that I'm talking about this is not to vilify the selling of sex courses. It's more the fact that this goes rather against what we've seen in the past. To be clear, years have passed, things have changed, maybe their perspectives have changed. It's interesting because the last version of Girl Defined I knew, I don't know if they would have been purely against selling these sex courses, but I don't know how in favor they would have been for it. Mainly because, as far as I remember, a lot of their channel treated these topics as rather taboo, which again turns funny and kind of ironic because Bethany's stories, she mentions how in Christianity, and I agree with this, there isn't a lot of conversation as far as how I was raised. There is no real conversation about sex aside from wait until marriage. Other than that, you're on your own. So it's basically like, don't have sex, don't get pregnant, and after that, when you're married and you do have sex and do get pregnant, like, not my problem. That's how it was always treated when I was at a Christian school. I went to see what exactly these courses are about. So there isn't much actually written about the course on the website. Like if you go on the website, what comes up is this: 2-week intensive, the ultimate sex course for Christian women. Learn to experience the most satisfying pleasure and deepen your connection with your man. Starts May 1st. I was kind of expecting to click on that and get a description. Now it opened up all fucked up on my phone, so I don't know if that's why no description was showing up. I'll check on my computer. Now, I went to Bethany's Instagram story to get more context. So, first we have, my hope is that every woman who wants to join the ultimate sex course for married women can join. And then she has a discount code, okay, whatever. Then this is particularly sad. So the story about the description of the sex life with all these horrible adjectives like boring, whatever, I'm in favor of someone trying to help other people. Like truly, even though probably most of my thoughts do not align with Girl Defined or Bethany Beal, so long as you're helping other people who might be in difficulty, truly not a problem. This could actually be a positive turn. That being said, if I were having problems in my sex life as a Christian woman, would I turn to Girl Defined? I think we all know the answer to that. She did say that she interviewed psychologists, sexologists, I don't know what other type of ologists. So, I mean, there is valid information there, I'm sure, but at the same time, I don't know if I'd really go pay Bethany Beal, of all the people in the world, to tell me this stuff. But again, if she is a trusted source, I understand why people would do that. And again, this could be a positive turn. Who knows? Maybe not everything is cursed forever, but I do think it's normal to have a certain level of skepticism, specifically when selling these courses seems to pretty much contradict most of what their online presence has represented, in my opinion. When I say their, I mean girl defined, because it was always Brittany and Bethany.
Don't have sex, save sex for marriage, wait. That's the message many of us heard growing up, and then we get married and we're like, okay, so is this what I waited all this time for? Sex can be so difficult and beautiful and challenging and confusing all at the same time. And many of us just feel like, where do I go for answers? Like, where do I actually go for help? Unfortunately, in the Christian community especially, there has been like a lot of silence around this issue, especially with women. And so a lot of married women feel like sex is more of a duty rather than a delight and something that they really look forward to. And especially when it comes to like the childbearing years and having young kids, it's like sex just seems like an extra burden rather than something that energizes and that you look forward to. And I want to change all of this. I want to help us as Christian women enjoy, delight, get excited about sex. And that's why I've created the Ultimate Sex Course for Christian Women. I brought together the best therapists, doctors, psychologists to bring this course to you. Early bird registration opens April 6th. Drop the fire emoji below and I will send you a direct link to registration as soon as it's available.
So this other video that Bethany posted, I think is extremely valid, and it goes back to what I was saying before about how a lot in Christianity, in my experience, a lot was just not discussed. It was more like, we don't talk about this. You wait until marriage, that's it. I obviously don't think that's the way to go because, first of all, when you don't really tell people things, I think it makes them more curious and potentially more irresponsible in the sense of, oh, let's just see what happens, which is not really a good idea when it comes to anything that could end up with babies. Aside from that, I do think that there's this very hush-hush attitude that I don't like because it feels like you're kind of criminalizing something, and if you're criminalizing something to a teenager, usually it does not end well. As much as I think this is a positive turn, like I said, I don't really think that Girl Defined were super fighting against this until like now. Only a couple of years ago, you were kind of pushing a very similar narrative to what you're going against now, which again, if you woke up from that, excellent, but that does contribute to people taking it as hypocritical. The same way that if I tomorrow say that I'm a Christian and I love God, of course you're going to doubt it because you've experienced me for years being like, I'm not religious. So obviously a swift change is going to take time. This part is significantly darker, and I really don't want to focus on it too much because I don't think it's central to this and I don't think it's appropriate to speculate on, but I can't not mention it either because it is part of what I think is making people a little bit suspicious or a little bit less trusting of all of this. Bethany's husband had posted about having suicidal thoughts. I'll put the post here if you want to read it, go ahead. The reason why I bring this up is because you understand that there's a tension between these two things, because you have one person talking about how to have a healthy marriage in the sexual lens, and then you have the other person in said marriage talking about how unwell they were doing mentally. Now, the two things aren't necessarily connected, but you see that it causes a little bit of confusion because the two ideas kind of clash in the sense of one person's selling you wellness and the other person's like, I was really unwell. Obviously, the depression is not to be blamed on Bethany or anyone for that matter. Like, I'm the last person who's going to blame depression on anything except for our brain chemicals not working. But you understand why people are weirded out because there are all these different factors that seem to say, okay, what's going on here? Because first of all, the selling of sex courses was not something I had on my bingo card, truly not. Then we also have her husband coming out and saying that he hasn't been doing well mentally with suicidal thoughts and so on and so forth. So again, that's not to undermine or change anything, but I think that contributes to why people were like, okay, this is a lot of stuff going on at once. And a lot of it is kind of a swift left turn because, again, sex was not a really common discussion with them. As far as I know, The husband had not opened up like this about struggling, so it's like all this information is coming out kind of out of nowhere, because before, from what I saw, things were rather curated. So it's kind of like seeing an account that's always aesthetic turning into an account that's super raw, and you're like, okay, hold on a second, I don't know what the switch was. And that's not to say that it's a bad thing that things have changed, but things have changed abruptly, and these two things at once have people questioning, okay, what's going on here? Now, I hope he's okay. He mentioned going to therapy, so I hope that's working out, because depression, as someone who's been suffering with it for like 16 years now, my God. Regardless, this has the audience a little bit confused, to say the very least. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think this is progress, as in Bethany Beal is kind of moving forward and going into a more modern direction and being potentially, I don't know, more open-minded about Christianity? Do you think that this is literally just for the money, so there's no real change in mindset or belief set there? What do you think is going on? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and I'll catch you guys next time.